What's good, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the What's a Filter podcast. I'm your host, and I go by the name of Taylor Vanderbilt. I'm so excited you guys are here with me today to talk about different things and just, have some conversation. But before I get into any of the topics that I want to talk about today, I want to give a big shout out to any and everybody who went and listened and or watched episode 1. Like I said, this took a lot of time and effort on my part to really get together. So I really appreciate everyone who went and checked it out. And also, because I got some questions about this as well, you will be able to find the What's a Filter podcast on pretty much any music streaming platform. So it'll be on Apple Podcast, Spotify, I think Pandora as well. So any of those music streaming platforms or anywhere you find your podcast, as well as on YouTube. So if you don't mind going over there and giving me a like and throw some comments down there. I love engaging in comments. I really want that to be a big part of the show. And if you're feeling generous, just hit that subscribe button. But yeah, man, thank you to everyone who watched. But without further ado, let's get into it, man. Like I said, I got some things I want to talk about today. So first thing I want to get into today is the BET Awards, as some of you may know, dropped their nominations yesterday. And a lot of people had a lot of different things. A lot of people had a lot of different things to say. And so, first off, I want to start by saying that I am not a fan of entertainment awards, period, but entertainment awards shows for sure. I just think that they tend to always get it wrong. Like, whether it's the nominations, whether it's the actual winner, I just think that award shows, especially entertainment award shows, just do a terrible job. And I simply just think that it's because of the money and there's like people buying people off and all that kind of stuff. But like when you equate it to like sports, for example, so you take the NBA because that's what's in season. We'll talk about that a little later. But the NBA, they just dropped their awards, right? But when we had the nominations, you could make a case for each and every one of the guys that was up there. Now you as a person might not have liked XYZ player and didn't think LeBron deserved it because he was out too many games, or you didn't think, Giannis because he's boring to watch. Whatever you may think, you can still make a case if you are for that person as to why they should be where they are. Now in music or entertainment, it's really not the same. It's like the same people are there, always at the top. And granted, they are doing a lot, but it's like none of their stuff maybe has substance anymore, or whatever. They're just there because they're a name and they have all the money, that kind of thing. So I say all that to say, like I said, the BET Awards dropped, and there was one category in particular that caught a lot of flack, and it was the best hip hop female artist. And it was very interesting because Chica was left out. Now, if you don't know who Chica is, she is a rapper, I believe, from Chicago. But she is amazing. She's a very lyrical person, but she has bops as well. It's not like that's just, her only thing. But she's a lot more thoughtful in her music. It's not as much, I don't want to say party girl music because that's not really what it is, but the normal everyday female rap that we hear and that's publicized everywhere, that's not necessarily her vibe, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, she was highly upset, as were a couple other people, because she was snubbed from the nominations. So now here, I'll give you the nominees for this award. So we have Cardi B, and I believe that she should be there. I think that she has submitted herself as one of the top female rappers in the game, and she consistently puts out bops. Obviously, she's always gonna be there. Doja Cat, I mean, she's had some good bops this year. I guess you could put her in that category and it would work. It makes sense. Meg, we don't even have to go there. Megan Thee Stallion, we know she belongs. Sweetie's an interesting one. I do think that because of the year that she had, she kind of belongs in there. Her name has just been around. This is where it gets interesting. So now we have Lotto, formerly known as Mulatto, B Lotto. We have her, and we also have Coi Leray. Now, here's the interesting thing for me. You can make a case for Mulatto. I will give you Mulatto. I'm sorry, Lotto. Excuse me. I'm a fan of her music. I enjoy it, but Coi Leray. Let's be real here. Coi Leray. What I mean, her to me, her biggest hit is Big Purr. And the reason I personally think that's her biggest hit is because Pooh Shicey's on it. Like, and Pooh Shicey's the biggest thing in the world at this moment. So, like, she's only really got 2 or 3 songs. So it doesn't make sense to me at all why, she was nominated in the category. Especially when you have someone like Chika who definitely deserves to be nominated. Like, if you just go off her stats alone, she was already nominated. She was already nominated for Best New Artist at the Grammys this year. So that's one. Like I said, she's all over TV. Every time you turn on the TV, if you're watching TV, she's in a commercial. She's in like 3 or 4 commercials right now. Project Power, which came out, I believe, during 2020 in like the pandemic year. She had multiple songs on that soundtrack album. Like, it's just hard for me to see the vision that like, if I'm BET, why would I not promote the like rising stars in my game? Why would I give it to the people who are more poppy, like more, I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm sure some of y'all understand where I'm coming from. But the thing that I loved about all of this, though, is that Chika was not holding back. Like, she went dead, like, directly at BET yesterday on Twitter. I mean, just going ham on them, just talking about, like, y'all beg me to, want to work with you guys, and then you do me like this. It's crazy. Why would I ever do it? But I kind of gotta agree. Like, there's no reason she shouldn't be on there, and she's not the only one as well. I want to make that clear. Like, Flo Milli deserves to be there. I think Flo Milli, to me personally, is the hardest female rapper like out right now. Cause like, just from her flow to like her swag on a track to just her just her whole vibe is just one that's just like, yeah, I can listen as a guy. There's something I can definitely just like vibe out to, just listen to, and it doesn't bother me to say that either. I'm a Flo Milli fan. Tierra Whack is another one who should definitely be on there. I mean, she had a killer year. I guess they're not ready for her yet. I don't really know. That doesn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things, because there's plenty of artists like her, but like in terms of kind of vibe. But hey, to each their own. But yeah, no, definitely Chika should have been in there. And one of the arguments that I saw on Twitter that I thought was very interesting, that it didn't really click to me until I guess really just thought about it and looked at it, was the argument of colorism. Now, I don't want to say that BET was participating in that at all. I'm not in the business of putting stuff on people, so I don't want to say that was their thing at all. I mean, to their credit, a lot of these artists have solid years. So I don't want to say that. I think they just promoted the people that are on the charts, the most popular, not the people who are really grinding, putting in work. You know what I'm saying? Even though they are grinding, but I think that the colorism argument is one that's interesting, because if you do look at the nominees, every single one of them is light, and Chica's not, Flo Milli's not. So it's just like, was that a part of it? Was that something that BET like, and it didn't? It was one of those biases that you don't really think about. It's just, you just kind of push it just because that's the norm. Is that something that BET might have done? Possibly, but I don't want to put any of that on them. But it was just interesting to see that argument kind of come up and really kind of play out and look kind of true. It was just interesting. So Again, I say all that to say Chica was definitely snubbed from the BET Awards. She should be on there. She should be nominated at least. At least nominated. It doesn't make any sense for her not to be. She's everywhere. Plus Flo Milli, she should be nominated too. Like it just really it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But that's BET for you. That's Big Time Awards. In my opinion, I think BET has done an absolutely terrible job at for like pushing the culture forward. I mean, they have a whole network and they basically show Baby Boy reruns 3-4 times a day. So like it's BET for what we knew it for what we used to know it as, 106 in Park, that kind of thing, pushing the culture forward. Bringing new artists to the forefront because they're the best and not just because they're the most popular or they're going to make you the most money, is what BET kind of used to subscribe to. So since they've kind of moved away from that, they've sucked. And all their awards shows suck. I literally just watch them to watch the ciphers. That's it. So it's neither here nor there. But moving on, another big thing happening right now is the NBA playoffs. And if you know me, I love sports. I was a basketball player. And I love me some NBA, man. So far, man, these have been some of the most entertaining playoffs that I've seen in a long, long time. Even going back to last year, like the bubble was super entertaining to me just because it was just ball. That's all. It was all ball. No fans or nothing, just all ball. So it was definitely entertaining. But this year, with the fans being back, that kind of thing, the games still are just as crazy and entertaining. Even though we've had a few blowouts, I know the Heat, which I'll get into later, my favorite team, but I know they've been taking it on the chin. I know the Suns, it kind of got out of hand in their game last night, as well as who was the other person? The Wizards. The Wizards are just, it's too much to handle with Joel and Ben and Tobias Harris when he goes for like 37. Like, there's nothing you can really do. But aside from that, man, it's been some really good games and some really interesting things that have happened. I mean, we've seen in the last couple of days just fan-player interactions kind of be at the forefront of the conversation. Trae Young, I think he was spit at or spit on. I have to clear that up. And then you had Russell Westbrook with the popcorn, and then John Morant's mom and dad catching flack at the Jazz game, racial racial flack anyway, or racist flack rather, at the Jazz game. So there's been a lot of fan player interaction, and that's been interesting. That shouldn't be going on. Like, why would you spit? First of all, the dude that spit on Trae Young or spit at Trae Young, totally don't understand why he would do that in the position he was at. Bro, he's a row back from the floor, but he's right behind 50 Cent. So, and I'm assuming that 50 Cent, the lady next to him, that he kind of, if you watch the video, kind of like she looks to see if it got on her. That's 50 Cent's like girl or something, like his associate, his compadre. And if like, can you just imagine if that would have got on her? Like, bro, you wouldn't have made it out the garden. But yeah, man, he should never be back to another game. Same with the dude throwing popcorn on the guy at the Wizards game, man, or on Russell Westbrook, the Wizards Sixers game, man. That's just lame. Like he especially because Westbrook was hurt. Like he had just rolled his ankle, was coming off the floor. And I get what Westbrook's a hothead. I understand it. He's one of my favorite players, but at the same time, like, he's still a human. You can't just pour popcorn on somebody. You can't do that, bro. Like, it's not, like, that's not cool. And then the one, I think the worst one, though, out of all of them to me was definitely the one with Ja Morant. I think Ja's mom didn't deserve that at all. And if the reports are clear or are true to what was said, because obviously I wasn't there, so I don't want to put anything like words into people's mouths, even though I do. The Jazz have a history of this, the arena has a history of this, and their fans have a history of doing this, and I know for a fact, it happened. We all know it happened. I just don't know what was said. But it was said that one of the fans told, I believe his dad, like, I'll put a nickel in your back and make you dance, boy. And I was like, that's not cool, like, at all. Like, why would you, what what comes through your mind to make you just pop off and say that just because someone's son who they're adamantly and respectfully cheering for just is I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But I'm glad to see though that the NBA and the Jazz, 76ers, and the Knicks all kind of took care of all of that. Banned those fans where they can't come back to games. So good job, good response by all of them. But man, back to the series, man. So I want to talk about some of my favorite series so far, and the first one is definitely the Knicks and the Hawks. I think it feels good to have New York back. Like, I didn't think about it. I didn't think I'd feel kind of this way about New York being, or the Knicks being back in the playoffs, because I'm a Heat fan, but B, it's just like, it's the Knicks. But I didn't realize how much like they like kind of matter to me, but just matter in the grand scheme of things. And I think the thing that's helping them is that they have this grinded out feeling. Like, and I think that is kind of like build or giving the city life, because that's what I mean. In New York City, you got to grind. That's everybody in New York City who's just really trying to make it grinds, and I feel like that is encapsulating the city. Now I want to preface this by, yes, I am from Tennessee, and I understand that Memphis is grind city. I understand that. I'm not calling New York City grind city. I'm just simply saying that this series. And the Knicks are really it's a really grinded out. It's gonna be a battle in this series, and I'm so excited to watch the game later tonight, because Trae Young's been going ballistic. I think Julius Randle gets on track tonight. It's gonna be really fun to watch the rest of this series play out, just because of I feel like the Hawks are a little bit better, but the Knicks' heart and just their will to win and want to just be great and defensively great, I think that is going to propel them. And I kind of want to see the Knicks go to the next round personally, just cause. But yeah, man, I love the Knicks Hawks series for sure. It's definitely one of my favorites. But moving on out west, the LakersSuns is another one of my favorite. It might be my favorite of the entire first round. First and foremost, the CP3 and first, I wish CP3 wasn't hurt, because I think this would be a totally different series than it is today. But the CP3 and Bron IQ battle would have been crazy if CP3 doesn't get hurt, and it's kind of limited, because I just think that, like, if you go back in time and look at who LeBron's played in the playoffs, I can't think of a time in which he's played one of his boys. I can't think of one. Yeah, because he played with D Wade, and CP was in the West, and I mean Melo was with the Knicks, and I guess, but Melo's not the same in terms of this. Melo's a pure scorer. Yeah, I really can't think of one where he's just played one of his boys in a real series. And CP and them had a chance. Like, watching game one, pre-CP injury, they had me saying Suns in 6. But I think that injury is really going to hamper the series, and I think the Lakers are going to end up taking it. But yes, I would have loved to. I'm still loving to see the IQ battle between CP3 and Bron. I think it's a very interesting one, because it's different when LeBron's on the court playing against, just the Grizzlies. He obviously his IQ is so much higher than everyone else on the court. But when he's playing the Suns, he not only has to play against Chris Paul, who has a very high IQ, but he's playing against Chris Paul, who's also his friend, who's not going to back down, who's not going to be scared. And his friend also just so happens to be the leader of the Suns. So it's like, he is the mental part they have. They just got to play better. So it's going to be a battle for sure. I think Book and Ayton, though, are stepping up, especially Ayton, man. I think Ayton's going to be, like, he's going to live up to that draft spot that he was taking it. Because I know a lot of people are like, "Wow, Luka, you missed out on Luka and Trae Young." But Ayton's really coming into his own. He's really being a bully down there. just making plays. He's really giving his all, and then Book's trying his best, and it's both their first appearances, so it's kind of hard for, hard to be mad at what they're doing. They're doing everything they can. It's just that CP3 injury, I think, is really going to hamper them. Next series I want to kind of get into is the Bucks and the Heat, and this pains me to talk about so much. Because Giannis and them guys came prepared, man, and I don't know. Well, let me say this. I don't know if it's more so they came prepared, or that their team is so much better this year than last year, and we just didn't realize that. Because I made this point yesterday on Twitter while watching the game. This team is a lot better than last year's team because you have Drew Holiday playing where Eric Bledsoe was playing, and you have Bryn Forbes who is playing where what's his name, George Hill was playing. So Bryn Forbes and George Hill are about tit for tat shooting wise, but Bryn Forbes is a little bit younger, a little bit more mobile. I think I would go out on a limb and say he's a better shooter overall than George Hill. And then Drew Holiday is way better than Eric Bledsoe. I mean, he's a better defender. He can still get to the rack, and you have to defend him. You can't just leave him open. You can't just, move out the way. Plus, when you add Chris Middleton to that and him just playing out of his mind, oh yeah, and they got Giannis too. It's a hard recipe to beat, especially when they're on their P's and Q's. It doesn't help that Miami can't hit a shot. Since game one, like they can't buy a bucket. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. The main thing that I'm getting out of this series from just watching it so far is A, the Heat look flat every night, and B, what's wrong with Bam? And one of my favorite things to watch Bam do is shoot a free throw line jump shot. Because people just give it to him and they act like he can't do it. And he's more than capable. And yet, in this series, Brook Lopez is playing 5-6 feet off of him and just letting him have it. And he will not look at the basket. And I heard the commentator say it the other night, or last night, and it just made me so upset. I'm like, dude, you are an all-star. This is the time. Like, Jimmy needs help. Help him. And Bam was just, I don't want to say nowhere to be found, but his head wasn't in it. Something wasn't right. So, definitely think Pat Riley makes some moves this offseason. I don't want to say get a whole new team, but there's definitely going to be an addition or two that we didn't see coming, in my opinion. So, but yeah, man, I feel like this series is over. Even as being a Heat fan, I hate saying that, but I can't foresee a future where Miami comes back down 3-0 and wins the series in 7. I don't see it. And then lastly, man, my last one, I kind of hit on this earlier, but my last one is the Jazz and the Grizzlies, man. And maybe it's just because I'm from Tennessee, so I want to see the Grizzlies do well. I'm a big Ja Morant fan. If you know me personally, I'm a big Duke fan, so they have Tyus Jones, Grayson Allen, and Justice Winslow. Shout out to the 2015 National Championship team. No biggie. But yeah, they're just fun to watch. And plus, I think this series is great too because Donovan Mitchell's amazing. I love watching him play as well. So for me, it's just interesting to watch. Like the games might not be the most hype games, but watching Ja kind of grow up is awesome, and this young Grizz team kind of figure it out. Jonas Valanciunas is out here balling. I mean, truthfully, if we want to go there, he's giving Rudy Gobert some buckets this series. I think the first game he had 20 rebounds or something like that, 23 rebounds, 20 points, something crazy like that. So yeah, he's really giving them buckets, and honestly, the Grizzlies winning game 1, even though it was without Donovan Mitchell, and just watching the next game after that, for me, I don't see the Jazz as the number 1 seed in the West anymore. Right now, I think the Lakers have taken that spot, as much as that pains me to say. But I do believe that the Jazz are capable of getting back to that spot. I do think the Jazz are capable of beating the Lakers. I just don't. I think right now the Lakers are more cohesive. They're playing better than the Jazz are, even though the Jazz are playing amazing. But that is a series that I want to happen if the Clippers and Lakers doesn't happen, which right now doesn't seem like it is because Luka got his foot on their neck. But I would love to see Jazz Lakers if possible, for sure. So man, the NBA playoffs again, like I said, man, they're so super entertaining. Having a lot of fun just watching them. Made a little money last night watching them, but they're very entertaining, and I just hope it keeps it up, man. Like I'm ready to see like Brooklyn get challenged, and I'm definitely ready to see like teams, the best teams play against each other for that end of the year blowout. So really exciting stuff there. I mentioned this in episode 1, and I kind of want to start it on this episode, but every episode I like to do something like quirky, I guess you could say, but or leave with a thought. And this week I'm going to start Twitter questions. So this is I go on Twitter basically every single day. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorite app. And I love answering or just reading and seeing questions and thinking of hypotheticals and all kind of stuff. So I found one that I thought was really interesting. It came out, I want to say yesterday or the day before. But the question is, you can choose one of these groups to do a collab album. So here are the groups right here. You have, or duos rather. You have Lil Uzi and Travis. You have Lil Baby and 21. You have Young Thug and Migos. You have Trippie and Cardi. Just heard a song about them. You have Kendrick and Childish. Pusha and Big Sean. And then Meek and Schoolboy Q. Those are the duos. And the question is, you can only choose one of these to do to make a collab album. So for me, it was easier to take people off than it was to like pick a champion. So for me, Meek Mill and Schoolboy Q, not that I don't want to listen to, big fans of both, but I just don't know if that would ride like I think it would. I think Trippie and Playboy Cardi, like the Trippie part of it would be cool, and I'm not really into Cardi's like baby voice. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Well, it makes sense to me. I just don't like it. Uzi and Travis would be cool. It'd be interesting. I just don't. It just wouldn't be my like. It'd be kind of. I don't want to say like everything else, but it'd be very experimental. It'd just be like, Thug and Migos. It's like I know that song would be good, but it's just like it'd be interesting. It would definitely be interesting. So my top 2 though top 3 rather, were Lil Baby and 21, Kendrick and Childish, and Pusha and Big Sean. And it was really tough out of these 3, but I had to be smart, man. I had to go with Kendrick and Gambino. I just think like Baby and 21 would be crazy. And that album would be easy to kind of play through, but I just can't imagine the substance on the album, on a Kendrick and Gambino album. Like it just doesn't. I just can't think about that in my mind of how crazy that would be, from the instruments to the background singers all the way to the visuals. Like you got to think, this is the man who made To Pimp a Butterfly and did what he did at the Grammys, and the man who made This Is America. We're putting them together. Like, come on, bro. Obviously, I think Cole should be the third person on that one because it would just go crazy. But I know I said duos, so yeah. I think Kendrick and Childish would definitely be my pick. But what I want you guys to do is in the comments on YouTube, in the comment, throw it on Instagram under this. I'm gonna post the episode of being out. So once you go watch it, I want you to go back to Instagram and put it in the comments. What do you think is the best pairing, duo, however you want to, whatever you want to call it? For some reason, I can't figure that part out. But which one of these duos do you think would have the best collab album? There you go. And yeah, let me know. So that's the show for today, man. I want to again thank all of you for listening and coming in and hearing me ramble. But yeah, that's episode 2. We'll be back on Tuesday. Hopefully, maybe, possibly could have a first guest. We shall see. But if not, you'll just see my lovely, lovely face. So thank you again for listening and sticking this out with me. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Peace.